Good morning. It is Monday, and you are watching the ASTROLABE, brought to you by King Pilled, sponsored by the King Pilled Discord. If you're not part of the King Pilled Discord community, you are not cool. You are a pleb. You're a serf. It is the #1 elitist community on the internet. Top secret. The only way you can get to it is by going to kingpilled.com and signing up to become one of the elite, one of the King Pilled. That's the best way you can support this show as well, as we bring you all the most interesting stories, tweets, videos, memes, and the what determines whether or not it's interesting is me. I determine what's interesting, and then I tell you guys what's interesting, and hopefully it's entertaining as we do it. I got the great privilege of meeting some real-life ASTROLABE watchers yesterday. It turns out some of you guys are real. Some of you guys are actually human beings. You're not just bots here to entertain me and like the dead internet thing. I've just got a chat full of bots that are pretending to be people, and I'm sitting here speaking into the void. No, I'm actually speaking to real people out there, and I got to meet a couple of them yesterday at church. There was the Southern Orthodox Conference was in Lockhart this weekend. I wasn't able to make it for the full conference, but got over there for church yesterday and got to see Adam Patrick. Those long-term listeners of the show, you guys know Adam Patrick. Got to meet him in person for the first time. Buck was there, of course. Jim Jatras was there, and some other people you probably wouldn't know. But I missed out on seeing Father Peter Hears by a day. Couldn't make it over there on Saturday, so I missed him. But it was good to see those of you that I met yesterday. If you're watching, you know it. You know who I'm talking to. It's good to know that I'm actually talking to people. Got this weird parasocial thing where we connect and you guys post to the chat and I talk to a camera in an empty room, and it turns out there's something real here. We've got something going on, folks. Do me a favor and hit the like button. We got 51 watching now and 11 likes. We gotta pick up this like button rate. Hit it as you come in. Hit it as you go out. Hit it while you stay here. Like it, unlike it, like it, unlike it. Give me all the interaction. I'll take it. Let's see. A couple other housekeeping things. On Saturday morning, I had a great conversation with King Pilled and with King Pilled. I had a great conversation with King Pilled. I have those every day. I had a great conversation with Jason at the 2-Bit Podcast and Meta Prime, who I see in the chat. We cross-streamed it to all three of our platforms. You can go to Meta Prime's YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, or Jason's YouTube channel. I think it was also on Twitter, and I think Jason's Rumble. There's a whole bunch of places. Go watch that. Very, very good conversation. And then I've got to give you guys a tease. Jason recorded a conversation with Stormy Waters yesterday, and as soon as he finished, he texted me freaking out and was like, "You need to listen to this as soon as possible." So he sent it over to me. It's like 2.5 hours long. I threw that bitch on 2.3x and blew through it as fast as I could. I went for a walk around the neighborhood while I was listening to it, and about halfway through the conversation, I found myself up on the roofs of the houses, jumping from roof to roof, Spider-Man style. It is one of the most important conversations you guys are ever going to hear. It'll be dropping on Wednesday, and it is appointment listening. You have to make sure that you hear this conversation when you get there. I read the thread from Stormy talking about private equity and the Carlyle Group, and he elaborated on that at length. It was, if you want to understand the various factions and what the actual battle lines are drawn, where the actual battle lines are drawn and how they are, and why all of this stuff here, which is like, we're going to talk about the Haitians and the boomers and all these sorts of things, and these are all important. These are proxies for the deeper things that are happening in the background. I've said for a long time here, as we've talked about the PayPal Mafia, that this is not just tech VCs. This is not just tech founders. Tom Luongo has his thesis that he's talked about at length about Jamie Dimon, Jerome Powell, and the U.S. capital markets versus the euro dollar. And this Stormy's elaborating on that as well. the factions that are the coalition that is forming behind Trump, that actually I think many of them have been behind Trump for quite a while, but they're forming in earnest. It is an intersection of technology, finance, and defense. And each of those things probably doesn't mean exactly what you're thinking when you hear of technology, like the tech industry or the finance industry or the defense industry, because we have a fake tech industry. We have a fake finance industry. We have a fake defense industry. When I say fake, I'm saying fake and gay. There's a real tech industry. There's a real finance industry. There's a real defense industry. They don't make the headlines, only rarely. Most people don't talk about them. Most people don't think about them. They're kind of out of sight, out of mind, and that's a feature, not a bug. That's how you know that they're real. So that conversation is going to drop on Wednesday on the 2-Bit podcast, and you guys need to go. I'm going to listen to it again today. I'm probably going to listen to it multiple times before Wednesday, and then I'll listen to it on Wednesday because it's that good. It's going to really, I think, really set the stage for all of us here understanding what's happening over the next 6 months. And it's simultaneously extremely white pilling and extremely black pilling. You get to choose which one you're going to focus on because both narratives are there. But there are massive white pills in it. I'll say that. There are massive white pills. And for me, just being able to understand exactly what's happening is it's a never-ending pursuit. I just want to know. Show me what's happening. Tell me. Give me the details. Show me the documents. So yeah, go listen to that as soon as it drops. Brent Taylor says, I started listening to King Pilled. I got so King Pilled, I bought a King Ranch. Based. Truck life. Yeah, I see the Beavers are in here as well. Shout out to the Beavers. We love our Beavers, don't we, folks? Boy, do we ever. All right, let's get a couple of early clips out here. We're talking Haitians, Boomers, Tucker, Yarvin, Venezuelans, and Elton John. Those are kind of the highlights that I pulled out that I thought would fit best in the chat or in the title. And there'll be some other stuff in here as well. But before we get into the Haitians and the Boomers, got a couple other things to hit. First of all, oh man, I got to go find the right tab. Where is it? Where is it? It's in here somewhere. I've got too many tabs open. Okay. Jack. I got to find Jack. That's the guy who tweeted it. Here it is. He says, Dear God, please let this be me and the boys in 2050. These guys are winning. White Boy Summer is not just for us youngins. White Boy Summer is an ageless age.
Action! So I'm with the boys, and again, another golf outing. Where are we going? Lake Geneva. Lake Geneva. Fontana doesn't know what's coming their way. So today we're making some ribeye steak sandwiches. On the Weber slate. Oh my God.
Look at these absolute kings.
Pop it in. We'll add a little vodka.
Oh boy, Mikey. So play a little golf, go on the boat.
That should get us going for some low scores today. Cheers.
Speaking of low scores, this is the net birdie by Roback. Let's go. Greasing up the label.
I believe that's what they call drip. Not the last guy, this guy. This is some straight up drip right here.
But bacon. So we got these sandwich ribeyes from my guy Mino. Rock's going to grate up some Gruyere cheese.
Gruyere.
Hey, dummy. No, that comes out. Exactly.
Here's a blue thing to push it down, right? So your hands aren't all over.
Just like your golf game.
And you're not in there, huh, Mikey?
No.
You have to buy this book.
As he says, throw it on the hash browns. Pre-cooked, all right.
All right, so business 101. Here's a tip. I have known these meatheads for how many years?
50?
41. Since high school. This is our high school outing. We got 16 guys. And here's the tip. Don't lose connections. I know sometimes I want to lose connections with these guys, but it's very important. In fact, me and Rocky even worked together at Yahoo way back when. At Ojo's too. Don't lose connections. Today we're going to introduce another tip, golf tip with Johnny.
Open the club face up. You actually want to press down and lift up. He's gonna bring it up and.
That's salt and pepper. Right, OB? Nice and easy. We're gonna go about a minute aside. Hand him up, baby. Come on.
Let's go. Rest up.
Hey, come on. The foil's free. Get enough on there.
This is Frank from the Food Boss. The little garlic spread. We got to toss on our brioche roll.
Oh,
Hey, some cheese sticks.
Time for the eggs. We're going to sunny side
Look
up
at-
egg, and we're putting.
little teaser for later.
Hey,
Look at how these guys treat their pets. Who do you want to live with?
some cheese sticks.
Time for the eggs. We're going to sunny side up egg, and we're putting butter because.
Butter is life.
Thank you. Okay. Jane Sola.
Oh,
Oh!
I'm
A
drooling.
little Gruyere cheese.
That would be fitting.
Salt and pepper.
Good job.
Look at those things.
It was a team effort.
All right,
Oh
the
my
start of a little
God.
fun this weekend up in Lake Geneva. Let's go, boys.
Go
time. Are you kidding me?
Oh man, one of the things we talked about in the conversation with Meta and Jason is the boomers, and it's very fashionable around these parts to treat the boomers as the villains of this era, and that's they've definitely it's not completely unjustified. They've definitely earned that, but we don't have the luxury of relating to them as villains because they have stuff that we need. For example, these networks, and this is a teaser for the Stormy and Jason conversation. The boomers have networks. Stormy made the point, I don't want to spoil too much of it, but this was so good. Stormy made the point that the boomers grew up with the luxury of living in a time when you didn't have to worry about politics. This is why they're so completely retarded when it comes to politics. They didn't have to worry about it because the politics just ran itself. What they were able to focus on is business and networking and communities. So there are within, I don't know, 10 miles of you, there are businesses run by a boomer whose kids don't care about him, who has a network. He has a network of suppliers and distributors and investors and customers, longtime customers. That network is going to die with him unless some enterprising young fellow shows up at his door and offers to be his apprentice. But the problem with this is that you can't actually have that healthy relationship with him if you think the boomers are retarded villains. You have to actually care about them personally. And if you do, they will be more than happy to take you under their wing, teach you everything they know, give you all the connections that they have. And when they pass on, you will retain that wealth. Not just the dollars and cents, but the wealth that is that network and that connection. The boomers have a lot of stuff that we need. One of our premises here is that given the nature of as Eric Weinstein calls it, the egos, embedded growth obligations, the way the institutions have been structured is basically designed to fail at some point. It's going to fail. But it's all of that, all those assets aren't just going to disappear. They're going to go somewhere. So if you're angry at the boomers for the way they've strip mined the rest of the society, hoarded a bunch of stuff to themselves, and are just sitting on it, then you recognize this opportunity. And you can go position yourself to take advantage of that. Put your bowl under the spigot there and let it drip in there. Now you might not like thinking of yourself as, please sir, may I have another? Sitting there with your little bowl. But the fact of the matter is, compared to many of them, that's exactly what we are. And it becomes a complete self-own for us if we allow ourselves to be just overcome by resentment to the point where we don't even let our special knowledge lead us into opportunities that aren't available to someone who doesn't have that special knowledge. We must redeem the boomers. We must come full circle on the boomers. Now, I'm going to read a thread later on from Vagrant of Rhodes. Fantastic poster. Powerful mutual. I'm going to read through this thread, and he's going to lay out very clearly many of the problems with the boomers. I think it's a very insightful thread, and it's worth reading. But keep this in the back of your mind, that this is what when the boomers are gone, we're going to miss them. There are going to be voids that open up that we didn't even realize were potentially there when we could have, because we had all of the data, we had all the insights at our disposal to recognize that these voids were going to open up. If you allow yourself to be overcome by and driven and motivated primarily by resentment, you're just owning yourself. This is the type of self-ownership that libertarians specialize in. Motivated entirely, their entire identity is opposition to statists, opposition to the state. And then you can just pull out statist or state and you can insert communist or liberal or fascist or Nazi, and it's the exact same psychology. This is the psychology of liberalism. It's the why can't I say this word? Politicization. You know what I'm trying to say. The taking resentment and turning it into politics. That's what liberalism is. Don't be a lib. Don't be a lib. Be an absolute Chad like this fellow.
How much of different foods and drinks would it take for you to consume before it kills you? Well, it would only take about 14 glasses of water before your kidneys were just like Nobody's ever done it before, but about 480 bananas would have enough potassium to just stop your heart.
We talk about fact checkers. This is a fact checker right here. This is the kind of fact checker I support.
If you eat cherries, you know that sometimes you accidentally eat the pit, but it only takes 3 pits for you to die from cyanide poisoning.
He's gerbil maxing.
If you were somehow able to take 14 shots of whiskey within an hour and not puke,
oh boy.
don't.
Oh boy. He's oh my god. Oh. I can't even imagine how he's after that. He's a young fellow, looks like, so he could probably roll through it, but my god. If I sat down and dropped 14 shots of whiskey in, I don't know, he had it sped up, so it was probably 3 or 4 minutes. Holy crap. That hangover would last for weeks. Straight Buster says, I've seen this guy, he's a maniac. This is one of the I don't know, guilty pleasures of mine sometimes is sitting down and listen and watching these guys that force themselves to eat or drink just absolutely ungodly things. There's something unique about their physiology that they could just force themselves to down stuff like that. Like Shoe Nice is one of the legends. Absolute legends. Take it like one of them was like eating an entire bottle of cinnamon powder, or I think he chugged a bunch of Everclear one time. The fact that the dude is alive is unbelievable. I don't know how he hasn't killed himself. Turns his body into just an absolute dumpster. And it's a miracle that he pulls through. All right, so Tucker Carlson has weighed in on his conversation with Martyrmaid. He went on with the man of the small face, Charlie Kirk, and it's kind of interesting takes here. Now, this guy, I don't understand this dude's method here. He posted. I had to sit here and try to figure out
conclusion.
These clips he posted. He did this whole thread. This clip and this clip and this clip are the same clip, and then he did a second different one. This is what constitutes his whole thread. I don't understand. Why did you just post the same clip over and over again? With the time that you took, you could have easily given us more of the conversation. I've got so many things I need to watch. Do me a favor. If you're the dude who's making these, whether you're Justin Baragona, who looks like a special fellow, or any of these other guys, that's what I love about Vigilant Fox. He makes really good clip threads like this. So instead of being able to show you 1, 2, 3, 4 clips from the interview, I can only show you 2. But they're good. So let's watch them.
To understand how that happened. That's my opinion.
And someone should have to answer for that.
I totally agree. So, but whatever conclusions you reach, I was amazed in the last 24 hours. You platform. I had Seth Dillon from the Babylon Bee, who's like some anti-woke guy, I guess, text me, I can't believe you platformed him. Platformed? You mean talk to him? It's like, okay. I thought you were the anti-woke guy. But anyway, people are very upset. And look, it's okay to be upset about a difference of opinion. I totally get it. I'm frequently upset about differences of opinion. But I can't help but detect in the hysteria over all of this, trying to turn Daryl Cooper, or maybe he's got eccentric views or not, but into some sort of a Nazi and me into a platformer of Nazis. I detect in that something much bigger, which is a kind of desperate, hysterical attempt to hold on to certain ideas or founding myths, some of which may be worth holding on to or not or whatever.
And mythologies can be important, as astutely pointed.
I totally agree. Blake Neff made that point, whom I love.
Blake's amazing.
I totally agree. He made that point to me last night.
By the way, Blake Neff, this is one of the things that made the shitlibs lose their mind. Blake Neff was one of the producers for Tucker, who was exposed to be fraternizing with racists on the internet. So he used to work for Tucker. He was fired. Now he works for Charlie Kirk. Interesting.
At that point, whom I love.
Blake's amazing.
I totally agree. He made that point to me last night. All societies are founded on myths. And it's important to have a founding myth, and maybe this isn't the worst one. I think that's a great point, and he may be absolutely right. But a confident society, a confident ruling class, would be able to explain that in the way that 100%. He did, non-hysterically, rationally, and that's not what we're seeing at all. We're seeing people like losing control. And I think that is sort of the point of it. They are losing control.
For those that didn't listen to the episode quickly, what was the synthesis, would you say?
Synthesis was... well, we talked about all kinds of different things.
Jonestown Cult, which was something else.
Completely the sadness of modern Britain, the destruction of Ireland, which is really a fixation for me because it's just so bizarre. Mm-hmm. Why would you want to destroy Ireland? What did they do wrong? Replace with people who weren't from Ireland.
They not suffered enough?
Well, kind of. They were never an imperial power. It's all very weird. But anyway, and worth talking about. But no, Daryl Cooper said, I think the villain of the Second World War period was Churchill, which is a provocative thing to say for sure.
I can tell you guys for a fact that Tucker and Chuck here they're playing dumb. They know exactly what they're saying. They're speaking to their audience. They're speaking to the Chuck Dirk audience, bringing them along gradually. But this is a performance. And I say that as a good thing. This is necessary for these guys. You can't just go whole hog noticing, adopting the most radical extreme position possible in public at this point in time. But they're very well aware of it. Remember, from the conversation that Chuck had with Yarvin, he spent not the summer we're in right now, but last summer, studying Machiavelli with Michael Anton. Chuck Dirk is very well aware of the happenings that are happening. He's very well aware of the he is not a political normie. He plays a very good political normie. I don't know how long he hasn't been a normie, but he's very much not. He once was for sure, but now I have to go back and go, so how much of that was a performance as well? But Tucker especially, who's this said in the chat? CB went to Tucker's live tour, highlight of the summer, big recommend. That's fantastic. So I watched. Did you go? You don't necessarily need to dox yourself, wherever you are. But I watched the one that he dropped from Anaheim. He gives his opening monologue, which in true Tucker fashion is just from the cuff, from the heart. Very. Oh, shut up, Siri. He was coming awful close to Fed posting in that conversation, and the crowd was a huge fan of it. And then he brought on Vivek and talked to him for a little bit, and then he brought on RFK and talked to him. The whole thing was very, very good, but the monologue, I'm going to cut up pieces from that monologue, talking about the way that California has been destroyed. Tucker grew up in California. He's a California boy before he went back east. I tweeted the other day that we're going to be taking back California and dropping the communists in the Pacific, because California is God's land. That's why they have subverted it. That's why they have gone full court press on destroying California. But California is greater than they are, and we're going to be taking it back. And Tucker Carlson will have our full support. I'll chop up some clips from that and share it in one of the future episodes because it was a very, very good monologue. Here's the next part of that. And so he makes this clip.
To understand how that happened.
He posts the same clip 3 times, and then he posts the next clip, and the first 12 or 13 seconds of it is overlapped with this. The dude is incompetent. I mean, he does as well as you would think he does based on looking at him. This is what the Daily Beast is sending us.
I think the villain of the Second World War period was Churchill, which is a provocative thing to say for sure. But I don't know. Tell me more. Why do you think that? And his point was, look, there was this regional conflict underway. Germany was pissed about the concessions that it was forced to make under the Treaty of Versailles after the First World War, and they wanted their land back and their population, German-speaking, ethnic German population in all these different countries. And so it was a regional conflict. And you can take either side of that or no side or whatever, but it was effectively a regional conflict, and Churchill forced it into what it became, which was a global war in which tens of millions of people died. That's his position. Okay. I mean, I think that's a defensible position. It may be a wrong position. I don't think that's crazy. It certainly doesn't.
Reading between the lines, the fact that Tucker was able to delineate that as effectively as he was, and just knowing where Tucker is at from following Tucker for a long time and hearing little drips from the background, Tucker is expressing his own opinion here. But he's also doing it with this plausible deniability. This is how the narrative collapses. The decent, popular people come out and say, maybe we need to rethink this whole thing. Now this is in the conversation. If they came out going full 14 words, which I don't think Tucker would be a 14 words guy, but they came out that way, they would reinforce the narrative. But this is destroying it. It's collapsing. The Nuremberg regime's days are numbered. And not just because of this on top of everything else that's happening. Again, you have to listen to Stormy and Jason talking on Wednesday when that episode drops. Every single one of you, there's 128 in the YouTube chat right now. Every single one of you needs to be in the live chat when that episode drops. I assume Jason's going to premiere it. If he doesn't, if he just drops the recording, every single one of you needs to watch it as soon as it drops. Go follow Jason on Twitter at 2Bit Podcast. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel, 2Bit Podcast, and make sure you watch that as soon as it happens.
Justify the hysteria that it provoked, in my opinion. And so the question is, well, why did it provoke
that was going to be my
that hysteria?
I don't get that much emotional, but I don't think I agree.
I agree.
But I'm not an expert, not a historian.
But it's okay.
It also doesn't get me screaming, right?
So I guess I would ask, which is more dangerous, living in a society where people have all kinds of views, heterodox views about a historical event, or living in a society in which you're not allowed to have heterodox views on an event, an 80-year-old event. I mean, it's not a close call for me. You want to live in a free society where free inquiry is encouraged, or certainly allowed. And so, but anyway, the point is, why the hysteria? And I think if you take 3 steps back, I think this is right. What you're looking at is is at the end of an 80-year cycle, and the end of a certain way of thinking about the world, the end of a certain way of administering the world, institutions which have run the West and to some extent the East since 1945. That's all kind of going away.
He's saying it now. He's calling out exactly what's happening. He is delivering normie-friendly Thomas 777 and Pete Quinones takes on Charlie Kirk's platform. And he's doing it very casually, very matter-of-factly. He's speaking to the audience the way the audience will hear it and listen. Faithful Faustian says you can't red pill the normies, which is why signaling esoterically is important to attract smarter people. And Ryan Isaac says, as Pete said recently, you don't have to name them when you're front and center. This is a slow march. No need to be a political martyr before the time. Yes. Yes. Because what they want is people to come out and name them. They want that. That's what facilitates the grift. But if you talk about these things without naming them, and then they freak out about you naming them, the smarter people will start picking up on this. Like, hold on a second. There's like there's a disconnect here, where the dog's barking and it wasn't kicked. The dog thinks it was kicked, but it wasn't. So why does it think it was kicked? Maybe it was actually kicked. Maybe there actually is something here. This is how it happens. Josiah says, saying it's defensible provides actual social defense for anyone who holds that position. Yes, correct.
Very fast, actually. Economic power, political power, cultural power is all moving east. And that's tough for me as an American to accept. It's very upsetting to me, actually. I want America to...
Screwed Up Rebellion says, allegedly, Tucker has listened to every episode of Pete and Thomas 777's World War II series. I cannot confirm nor deny. This, I actually just remembered a thing that I should remind you guys of. Let me pull this up. I'm gonna have to go to this account that only occasionally posts good things, but this is definitely a good thing. Let me vamp for a minute while I scroll down and find the important tweet. I referenced this on, I think it was on Friday's show. I mentioned that there were rumors that this was going to happen, and the rumors have been confirmed. My God. Here we go. Tucker Carlson records interview with Sam Hyde. We are going to get Sam Hyde on Tucker Carlson. I don't know when. I don't know when it's going to drop. I suppose anything could happen and they could decide not to drop it or something, but the drips are becoming a torrent. Imagine what this is going to be like. All of you out there who have boomer parents who listen to Tucker, I know there's multiple of you because I've already heard from you. You're going to have to explain who Sam Hyde is. This is the time we live in now. You're going to be explaining to the boomers who Sam Hyde is. Because there is no way that a Tucker Carlson Sam Hyde conversation isn't really, really, really good. So be prepared. You may need to go bone up on your Sam Hyde lore. You're gonna have to explain why Tucker is talking to this guy who's been responsible for every mass pew-pewing and major I can't say that word. terrorism event. You're going to have to explain why Tucker is talking to the ghost of Kiev. Good luck to you. Pete Quinones says, I text Daryl almost every day. I would know if Tucker and his brother listen. Bryce, TLDR on who Sam Hyde is. My brother in Christ. Just go look him up. Sam Hyde is... Go watch, like, I don't know, 5 or 10 Sam Hyde videos, and you'll get it. You'll know who Sam Hyde is. He is one of a kind. All right. Next thing here. Gary Tan is a very interesting character. He is the president and CEO of Y Combinator and is not too far removed from our circles. He definitely is a dabbler. He's a dabbler in our little corner of the internet. And he's been becoming more and more vocal as well. He's one of these, when I was doing the whole PayPal Mafia deep dive, and I said there's kind of different segments that I sort of started putting people in my mind, just roughly. And some of them were okay, this guy is this guy's like probably a fascist or a fascist sympathizer. You could tell, you could just start connecting some dots and this guy's hiding his power levels. And then there's this guy is wholly given over to the regime, deeply compromised and desperately flailing, the Reid Hoffman types. And then there's a bunch that are kind of in the middle, and it's difficult to sort of triangulate exactly where they are. But once it becomes clear that there's a hell of a lot of kayfabe going on, and there's a lot of people who are, their professional lives require them to act and behave in a certain way, then when you know there's a hiding your power level thing going on, then you kind of just have to hold some of these things lightly. And Gary Tan is one of those who's definitely in the middle. I happen to know that he's good friends with Balaji Srinivasan, for what that's worth. So this guy here, this absolute stooge, Stephen Hamilton, talking about the taxing unrealized capital gains. If you want a really good breakdown of this, go to Mark Andreessen's YouTube channel and listen to the conversation between Mark Andreessen and Ben Horowitz on the Little Tech Agenda. They break down exactly what taxing unrealized capital gains is, what it would do, and why they are opposed to it. And they're taking it very seriously because it's actually a legitimate proposal. This isn't just, a campaigning mechanism. They're actually talking about this. So Stephen Hamilton says there's some hysteria about Harris's endorsement of Biden's proposal to tax unrealized capital gains. There's also a controversial Australian proposal to tax unrealized gains on retirement savings. A quick thread on how public finance economists typically think about this. Oh, yes, please. I need to know how the public finance economists think. First, the proposal is to tax only the unrealized capital gains of those with assets above $100 million. So this proposal is directly relevant to almost nobody. Second, it's hardly unprecedented. Property taxes are ubiquitous, and with updated assessments, tax unrealized gains. This is subversion of the highest order. He says, according to a traditional view, there are two good reasons to tax unrealized gains. First, taxing on realization provides an incentive to defer realization, which distorts capital markets. Asset holders get to earn returns on what they owe to the IRS. This reduces turnover. I'm not going to read the rest of this to you because it's just slop. I wanted to read to this point to highlight Gary Tan's response. He says, owners want to own assets that they actively manage because they are stewards of these assets. Owning and not realizing the asset is not a distortion of capital markets. It is literally taking care of things, doing one's duty, especially founders who started the company. We need more owners in the world, not less. We need people to take care of things, to be stewards, to look out for people, organizations, and quality of services and products. Without owners who are bought into the future of assets, every institution will fall apart. Speaking of Stormy, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. So here, Gary is cutting directly through all of the bullshit, identifying the slop as slop, and going straight to the heart of what it's targeted at. This is not some sort of like, oh, well, maybe we can make an economic justification, and if we game out the pros and cons and we run these simulations and figure out exactly how we can reallocate. No. The purpose of taxing unrealized capital gains is to seize assets from people who own them. It's a political weapon. And it's a shameless political weapon. The purpose of taxing unrealized capital gains is so that the regime and its minions can confiscate the assets of its political enemies. That's the purpose of it. The purpose of it is to destroy innovation, to destroy the possibility of growing and adapting, and to seize assets and consolidate them within the regime and its proxies. That's the purpose of it. And someone like Gary Tan, regardless of you don't have to go like dig through his private secret thoughts and try to assess, is he really is he a deep subversive? Is he a true believer? Does he watch Hitler edits at night? None of that matters. What matters is that he sees the policy for exactly what it is. And he's not going to get involved in like the policy debate over it. He's like, no. Proposing a policy like this is a direct attack on owners, on the ownership of property. It's a political weapon, and it needs to be treated as that. There's no debate over it. No, it's not going to happen. And if you're proposing it, if you're advocating for it, you're a criminal, and you need to be treated as such. Okay, so before we dive into the Haitian problem, Here's an interesting response from Curtis Yarvin to a question from Edward Dutton. And the whole answer is it's not going to be anything you necessarily haven't heard before, but you'll see why this is going to be a good lead-in to the Haitian question. Real quick, I saw a super chat come in here. Shout out to O2 Tom. 199 British pounds. Oh, we've got a limey in our midst. He says Sam being on Tucker before Rogan speaks volumes. Yes, it does. Absolutely. Yeah, Rogan is he's really established himself as the normie now, which is kind of funny because once upon a time, like 4 years ago, 3 years ago, Rogan was like the fringe. He was the like the only platform that would host conversations that are stretching outside the mainstream, the only major platform. But now the mainstream has left. So in a sense, he's still the fringe, but he's moved into like the former mainstream. And what was once the fringe is now the mainstream. So I'm going to play this whole 3.5 minute clip for you guys, but the real quote is the very last thing he says.
There's a psychologist at the LSE called Satoshi Kanazawa, and he has the Savannah IQ interaction hypothesis, and he says that we have a built-in instinct to be monarchists, and if we are not monarchists, it's an evolutionary mismatch, and we'll be very unhappy. What do you think about that?
We are political animals. We have all sorts of political instincts. We have the instincts to be monarchists, and we have the instincts to be rebels. And when you look at, for example, baboon societies or chimp societies, you see that there's a chief chimp. You see that chimps make war. And you also see that chimps revolt against the chief chimp. And they basically, if they can't be chief chimp, they want to tear the chief chimp down. And they develop the same excitement that you see in teenagers who want to tear the world around them down. You see in teenage chimps who want to tear the chief chimp down and bite his balls off. And, all of these instincts are present at a very, very crude level in the chimpanzee. And indeed, the sort of Margaret Mead pseudo-sociologists who basically created this 20th century, consensus were very disturbed when they found that chimpanzees actually make very, very brutal warfare. And of course, this whole myth of like peaceful, primitive human societies is just, utter nonsense. And such a thing has barely ever existed. And where it exists, actually, like you see, the origins of, for example, hippieism. Like hippie societies do spontaneously come to exist in completely non-Western contexts. And I think the best example of this is, you may know of this example, Ed, the Maori and the Moriori. Do you know the story? So the Moriori are, the Maori, of course, a very warlike, group of Polynesians who are the first to discover New Zealand. But they have these cousins, the Moriori, who come from the same tribe, the same original sort of root. And the Moriori inhabit these islands that are sort of, Cook Islands or something, near New Zealand. And they somehow form this very peaceful, maybe matriarchal, like it's a society without violence. It's exactly what people want to see in a traditional society. It all happens without any hippie missionaries telling them how to be hippies. It actually happens. And then in the 18th century, a bunch of Maori, who are these like cannibal warlord people, learn about the existence of the Moriori and basically get a European ship and sail to the islands of the Moriori and just like enslave and destroy them utterly brutally. And the Moriori are like totally, like it's against their principles to fight back. And so they're like, children are slaughtered before their own eyes in like this sort of horrible way. It's a really disgusting, horrifying story. And it basically reminds us both that the sort of the hippie impulse is actually very much a universal human impulse, just like the monarchical, impulse, but it's also relatively unstable in a context where people are thinking in the evolutionarily adapted way. And, when you all start behaving like Moriori, your children will be eaten alive before your eyes.
Whew! The purpose of that whole clip was that last line. When you begin behaving like the Moriori, your children will be eaten before your very eyes. This whole clip is a exposition on the notion that those who want to be left alone will be conquered and ruled and cannibalized by those who want to rule. Libertarianism, the inevitable end of libertarianism, the libertarian spirit, which pervades even those who don't consider themselves libertarians, the inevitable end of it is your children are eaten alive in front of you. So now let's speak of the Haitian problem. Let me retweet the stream link here again. Throw up a live now. There we go. Let's get some more friends in here. All right. So one of our boys, one of the posters from our domain, has sent this whole issue into the mainstream. You can track how this has happened over the last few days, where people started talking about this. And this is a great illustration of how our I've talked about the way that our circle is now beginning to set the narrative for everything else. Everything is downstream from us. Charlemagne had that great rant on the Pony Express radio episode that I played last week, that we are now the elites and we need to act like it. And here's one of the ways. This is a great illustration of how this is happening in real time now. Captive Dreamer on Twitter began posting about this issue. Everyone was kind of talking about it. Oh, there's these Haitian things that are going on, but it was being kept out of the mainstream discussion. There was no permission for people to attach themselves to it and actually amplify this into the national story that's happening. And he went in and found this video of at the Springfield City Commission meeting. This is Springfield, Ohio. I'm going to play this video, and then I've got a whole bunch more stuff to get through. So if you don't know what we're talking about, you'll know by the time we get through all these clips. Let's play this one first. He says, absolutely heartbreaking moment. Springfield, Ohio resident tells mayor she, quote, can't take it anymore as Haitian migrants squat on her lawn, litter in her yard, and harass her and her elderly husband daily. The mayor of Springfield does not want people to see this.
Noel? Thank you. I live at 426 Northwestern Avenue. Miss Skinner, who I'm not trying to put on the spot, is my neighbor.
Just talk to me, ma'am. Thank you so much.
And I'm done with what I'm seeing. It is so unsafe in my neighborhood anymore. I have the homeless that were trying to camp out, and I have made concessions with them, and I try to help them the best I can to keep them from trying to squat on my property. But it is so unsafe. I have men that cannot speak English in my front yard screaming at me, throwing mattresses in my front yard, throwing trash in my front yard. And I can't. Look at me, I weigh 95 pounds. I couldn't defend myself if I had to. My husband is elderly, and last night, after living in this home for 45 years, he said, Noel, guess what? It's time to pack up and move. He said, we can't do this anymore. He said, it's killing both of us mentally. I don't understand what you expect of us as citizens. I mean, I understand they're here under temporary protected status, and you're protecting them, and I understand that our city services are overwhelmed and understaffed. But who's protecting us? If we're protecting them, who's protecting me? I want out of this town. I am sorry. Please give me a reason to stay. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is powerful. These are our people. This is the reason why we must govern. We must govern to protect these people from those who would victimize them. This is why it is a Christian responsibility to be active in the government of your communities at all levels as a matter of principle. Andrew says, that's a woman who needs our patronage. Yes, she has no more patronage. The balls, the desperation that would drive her to actually go do something like this, knowing that she's putting a target on her back. She may not even realize she's putting a target on her back. She doesn't even know better. This is how desperate the situation is, that someone like that would put herself out like this. So, Captive Dreamer posts this here, 10.6 million views. This is when it really took off. He said, Kamala's America, this is what they want for every town, city, and suburb in the country. So, the Springfield School District superintendent tweeted a link. He deleted the tweet. He shut down replies. He had no replies to it. This is what he said. Support systems build for growing Haitian population in Springfield. This was in December 21 of 2022. This has been a coordinated effort by the leadership in Springfield to import these people, and they're bragging about it in a key swing state. There's something like 50,000 Haitians. Dude, I don't think a lot of people understand what Haitians are. Go read the history of the island of Haiti. These are not people that you can import into your country and maintain a country, legally or illegally. There is no capacity for civilization among these people. They're active worshipers of demons. They have invited demons into their country, committed themselves over to them, and devolved into the worst atrocities. The only people who would possibly think it's a good idea to bring these people into our country are those who are actively trying to destroy the country, actively trying to get people killed, actively trying to seize property from people unjustly for no reason other than sheer malevolence. This is pure evil. Jack Posobiec helpfully highlights this tweet from 2 years ago, indicating that this isn't an accident. This isn't just like, oh, well, the federal government did something and we're just having to put up with it. No, these people are gleeful about it. Of course, he deletes it. And here's a quote from the same time period, Saturday, December 3, 2022. Support systems build for growing Haitian population in Springfield. A surge in the number of Springfield residents from Haiti has resulted in an outpouring of language assistance and additional forms of help from the Springfield City School District and others who are trying to meet their needs. Quote, 4 years ago, we didn't have a Haitian population. In 2018, there were no Haitians in Springfield, Ohio. Now there's like 50,000. This is from Pamela Shea, Director of Federal Programs for Springfield City School District. This is an importation of invaders. The only reason someone like this would facilitate something like this is because, I mean, number one, she's being paid handsomely to participate in this. And because they hate the people they live with. They want to see them destroyed. That woman, this woman here,
Speaking.
Pamela Shea, wants to destroy her and the people like her because she has contempt for her. When we talk about the necessity of building patronage networks, it's not just because like, oh, hey, I can't get ahead and it's hard for me to find a job and I need an elite to come advocate for me and I'd like to see my policies installed. It's a matter of existential crisis. We need patronage networks so that we can survive. So that not just us, but our people, the least among us. She doesn't deserve to have this inflicted on. I don't give a shit what she's voted for in the past. She doesn't deserve to have this inflicted upon her and her community. The people who do this are evil. There is no negotiating with them. There's no like, oh, let's just come to a peaceful solution. No, these are criminals who need to be treated as such. So Captive Dreamer is posting more about it. He says, more locals weighing in on the Haitian invasion of Springfield, Ohio. There's a message sent to him. I live near Springfield. Most of my family lives in the city. Just wanted to say all the shit you're seeing isn't an exaggeration at all. The number of car accidents and hostile confrontations with locals is insane. My aunt walked into a women's restroom at the grocery store last month and was screamed at by two grown naked men taking a sink shower. Friend of a friend got his car hit by one, no license or insurance, of course, and the little shit jumped out and started threatening him and demanding money. They are hostile invaders. If you're a bleeding heart, it's like, oh, the poor Haitians who are being subjected to this civil war, which was itself fomented by the exact same people who are importing them. Oh, the poor Haitians. There's lots of look at the children. Look at all that. Look at the help they need. They don't deserve to live this way. Sure, yeah, go protect them. But don't import them in to our communities and put our children and our women at risk. And here's where things really took off. Vivek quote tweeted him, "I spent a lot of time in Springfield growing up, Ohio native. Lots of wonderful memories. Never would have imagined something like this." And from there, it went ham. This morning, the Trump War Room account says President Trump will deport migrants who eat pets. Kamala Harris will send them to your town next. Make your choice, America. Remember, this account, a couple of weeks ago, tweeted out the meme that said, import the third world, become the third world. This is the rhetoric coming out of the GOP frontrunner. They're calling it for what it is. So there was a video that was going around. I'm not going to play it on here. There was a video going around of a woman laying in somebody's driveway with a cat she just killed, eating it. Raw. Dead pet laying there on the driveway, and she's laying on the ground next to it, chewing on it. These people are going down into the parks, grabbing ducks and geese, and eating them. Just eating them in public, carrying them around town. These people aren't civilized. We can't coexist with them. They're scooping up people's pets, hanging them from trees and skinning them and cooking them in public. And the frickin' libs, oh, you eat chicken? Yeah, I don't go climb into my neighbor's backyard and grab one of his chickens and flay it in his front yard. There is no living with these people. The memes are great. Before we get to those, here's another. So this is how this worked. Go back to this tweet. So our boy, Captive Dreamer, tweets about this stuff, gets it going viral. Once it's gone viral and the public opinion is turning on it, that gives permission for Vivek to tweet about it. When Vivek tweets about it, the Trump War Room account can tweet about it. JD Vance can tweet about it. Elon Musk can tweet about it. Vote for Kamala if you want this to happen to your neighborhood. This isn't an accident. She describes why.
That is why, also, starting with our administration, we gave TPS, temporary protected status, to Haitian migrants, 55,000. And then more recently, we extended temporary protected status to over 100,000 Haitian migrants for that very reason, that they need support, they need protection. That is why, also...
Go look at the map, the Google Earth map of the border between the Dominican Republic and Haiti. Do you know what the border policy is for the Dominican Republic? If you're Haitian and you come across the border, we are going to pew-pew you. The Haitian, the border between Haiti and Dominican Republic is green and lush. Haiti has been stripped. These people are hardly human. They can't be related to as if they're just normal human beings. As an entire people, as an island, for multiple hundreds of years, they have openly, willingly given themselves over to demonic possession. It's the most violent, evil, demonic place on the planet. And people like Kamala Harris are importing these people into our country. I don't understand someone who could possibly hold on to these old libertarian, boomer lib canards. Oh, Trump isn't sufficiently pro-life. Bull fucking shit. The worst, most unimaginable semi-humans are being imported into our country and will be at an increasing rate. If you think that there's somehow like some sort of parity between these two options, you are evil yourself. Anybody who's advocating playing spoiler in this, I'm not going to call anyone out directly because I'm not trying to get into a flame war, because it's going to be a waste of time and a pain in the ass. But there are multiple people who want to treat this like, oh, Trump's not giving us enough of what we want. Oh, he's not sufficiently anti-immigration. So we're going to throw a monkey wrench in the spokes here and try to facilitate this kind of antisocial, criminal, evil behavior. This is not just a presidential election. This is a turning point in the direction of answering the question of whether we're even going to have a country going forward. I love America. I'm an American. I want America to continue to exist and to thrive and to be prosperous and to grow, to be strong, to have character as a nation, to protect the weak and vulnerable among us. I think that's a good thing. And if you want to subvert that in some way, you're my enemy. I have no obligation to live peacefully with you, to roll over and just let you take my country away from me and my people. Speaking of subverters, what a fall from grace. Right-wing influencers taking credit for calling attention to Springfield is amusing because the only reason they know about is local news coverage, groundwork done by journalists who generally lean liberal. They hate journalists, but they can't do what they do without them. They didn't know Springfield existed until someone they'd called a libtard wrote a balanced news story about it. Then they tweeted about it and claimed credit and patted themselves on the back. Man, you're going back too. Our country is for our people, not those who want to subvert and destroy our people or facilitate the subversion and destruction of our people. Don't give me this bullshit. If you want to turn this into some petty little flame war with the people who you resent because they didn't bend the knee to the guy who paid you to slob his knob, you can get out. We're protecting our own and you're advertising yourself as not one of us. You don't belong here. He responded, he said, actually, I just went to their Facebook groups, read their comments, and asked locals to reach out to me. Journalism. Local news essentially blacklisted this stuff. Nobody wanted to spend 2 meager hours watching a city committee meeting to hear people's concerns. This is how we can make a difference. Listen to them. Listen to the people. Don't just use them as political pawns. Hear the concerns that they have. And if you can't solve the problem directly because it's so big, you can signal boost it and you can create political cover for those who can actually do something about it to take up the cause. This is ironically an inversion of how Twitter worked in past elections. You had the designated proxies who would stir up the story, get it trending, and provide the cover for the politicos and the CEOs and whomever to weigh in and establish the position for it. It's opinion forming. We are now the opinion formers. And the memes are glorious. I love you. I would never let the Haitians eat you. Meme dump thread. Post all of your pet-related Trump memes here. This AI stuff is so good. Ducks for Trump. I like his little fingers. Vote for Trump. This is where we're headed under Kamala. Springfield Haitian barbecue. Cats, dogs, ducks. We accept EBT. When Trump goes to Springfield, Ohio, he's saving our kitties. This is how you get the childless cat ladies, by the way. This could be a big wake-up call, and I'm sure it's going to be for a lot of childless cat ladies. They see a video of this woman laying in the driveway gnawing on a pet. You want to live in this world? Only Trump can save our pets. Cat lives matter, Trump 2024. Pets for Trump. Lady in the Trump. Matthew Peterson said, log into X tonight. Look around. What the? This is the Trump campaign. The memers. The meme magic. This 2016 doesn't hold a fucking candle to this, man. Melania and Trump walking onto the ark. I saw that one of the things that Trump did when he was in office was something related to making animal abuse a felony or something along those lines. Here's your contrasts. Under Kamala, Haitian migrants will kidnap your pets and spit roast them in your front yard. Trump will send those people to the death penalty. I'd rather you grabbed me than ate me. Make America great again. Keep our geese and cats off of Haitian dinner tables. Elon, getting in on the meme action. Ohio right now. Shout out to Andrew in the chat. He says, so this is the House Judiciary GOP. Who's running this account? It's obviously one of our guys. Protect our ducks and kittens in Ohio. He says the GOP is officially campaigning on Trump being the only one who can save our ducks and kittens from Haitian immigrants who want to eat them. And you're blackpilling? Do you want to be able to walk around the park and see some ducks happily floating around in the pond? Right? Imagine living in a world where people walk around and they see the duck and they jump in the water and go after it and start chewing on it. Versus, I'm going to go walk around the park with my family and take pictures of the ducks and toss some bread to them. The contrast could not be any clearer. This is a banger. Trump speaking to all the kitties. They're not after me. They're after you. I'm just in their way. Meme magic is stronger than ever. So the Matt Walsh on Twitter, following Matt Walsh on Twitter is like the experience is a roller coaster. We talked a couple weeks ago about the whole raw milk thing, where he just made an absolute fool of himself in public. And now he's coming back and redeeming himself. He says Republicans get the immigration issue only half right by focusing exclusively on illegal immigration. But Springfield is being destroyed by a third world invasion. Does it make any difference whether the invasion is legal or not? Is it suddenly a safer town if all of the Haitian migrants are documented? The normicons are coming around to the idea that we don't just need a moratorium on so-called illegal immigration. We need a moratorium on immigration, period. Now, I'm not naive enough to think that we're going to get the full stop, not a single person enters the country. If that's your standard, you're a fucking retard. You're a political child. It's not going to happen. What can happen is a shift in the spirit from being suspicious of immigrants and expecting them to prove their value and their necessity of being here, where immigration becomes a privilege If you want to immigrate to the United States, it's going to be a privilege. You're going to be held to a higher standard. You're not going to get special privileges immigrating here. That spirit is within grasp. But if you plant your flag on, no, we need to ban immigration altogether, it's never going to happen, and you become advertisement in the political domain, just the same as the guy who goes in 14 words on Fox News. You now feed into the opposition. You diminish the possibility of that spirit taking over. We have to be wise. But this is a white pill. Someone like Matt Walsh giving lip service, even if that's all it is, I don't care. Giving lip service to the notion that, hey, maybe we just don't bring third worlders into the country for a while. Maybe we drag ourselves back out of the third world trajectory that we're on, establish ourselves as secure and stable and prosperous and growing, tamp down on all this crime, throw the mobsters out of the country, and the third world can be taken care of in the third world. They don't belong here. We don't need to bring them here. There's nothing charitable about that. There's nothing Christian about that. If you want to bring the third world here, you're engaged in warfare against your own people. It's an act of war against the United States. And the people who do this need to be treated as enemy combatants. This is what warfare looks like. These are the terms of the debate. So here's the thread from Vagrant of Rhodes. We're actually going to go through a couple threads of his because he links to one that I already had lined up about the boomers. He links to that at the end of this one, so we get a 2-for-1. He says, what's wild about the Haitian scandal is that the two most prominently involved states, Ohio and Alabama, have GOP governors who haven't even spoken about it. This is a scandal of insane proportions. Kay Ivey hasn't even posted here in 4 days, DeWine in 2. Jack Posobiec said, hi, Governor Mike DeWine. What is this map you're studying in Springfield? Huh. What is this map? That looks like Haiti. Why is the governor of Ohio studying a map of Haiti shortly before there's a massive crisis of thousands, tens of thousands of Haitians descending on Springfield and turning it into a shithole? Why is Mike DeWine involved in this? Turns out Mike DeWine is an enemy combatant. Governor Ivey's office, not even herself directly, released a simplistic, we have no idea what's going on. DeWine hasn't even acknowledged it. These are Republicans and they're the governors, the most powerful executives in their states. Nothing. No action. No help. But boy, is Governor DeWine proud to know Haiti so well. Curious to be sure that he's known and facilitated this invasion since it started a couple years ago in Springfield, along with probably hundreds of other innocent victim towns in his own state we don't know about yet. Meanwhile, Governor Ivey plays dumb and puts her hands up, blaming the Biden administration. Lady, you are the governor. Use the state police to deport these people. But I suppose that would be too much to ask. The only person who promised to act at all is Senator Tuberville. I posted a thread earlier detailing Skyalauga and Alabama politics, which show Republicans are heavily involved and complicit in the migrant trade. This migrant trade is big business. This is the term for it, migrant trade. Mayor Jim Heigl seemed happy they were in Skyalauga for work. I guess eating cats and seagulls classifies as employment to him. Meanwhile, the situation in Springfield, Ohio has reached a fever pitch. Their new mayor, Rob Rue, seemed to be an enigma. No information on his politics rose to sudden prominence when his predecessor stepped down right as this crisis was unfolding. Curious, to be sure. Hey, autists out there, go dig into Rob Rue. Find out what's going on with Rob Rue. Let's amplify this guy's background and figure out what sort of things he's connected to. Put the pressure on. But Vagrant, you'll say, he's taking action. He said he cares and is going to investigate. Here's the catch. He doesn't actually care about stopping it. He only cares about not being informed so he could have infrastructure in place for the migrants. Fascinating action. Here's the quote. Springfield officials were in the dark about the possibility of a large immigrant relocation to the area, Mayor Rob Rue said at the recent Springfield City Commission meeting, but a network of businesses knew what was coming. Investigation by the city's Immigrant Accountability Response Team, formed in October of 2023, has revealed that the possibility, quote, there were companies that knew they were going to make an effort to bring in individuals who were crossing the border based on federal regulations that they could do that, Rue said. I'm upset at the fact we didn't get a chance to have an infrastructure in place if there were going to be 20,000 more people from 2020 to 2025. We didn't get to do that. You fucking con man. Infrastructure in place? No, we don't need any infrastructure. These people need to not be brought here, and the people who are trying to be brought here need to be prosecuted and driven out of the state. That is your responsibility as governor. And if you can't do that, you need to be forcibly removed and replaced by someone who will do that. This isn't politics. This isn't democracy. This is subversive warfare. And you're a traitor to your people. You're telling me business leaders knew and the mayor had no idea? He essentially says he wants more of them. The implication of, we didn't have enough infrastructure, but we will now, means they are preparing to absorb even more migrants in the future. This is how it works. 1, Democrats create a problem in secret. 2, NGOs, charities, corporations, private businesses facilitate said problem for financial gain through government grants. 3, local leaders facilitate the problem, usually for political gain. You want to advance your career, don't you? 4, the GOP, useful stooge party that it is, notices too late and expresses fake outrage, promises action. Action stalls, never materializes, quote, constitutionally it's difficult or economically unviable, causing people to forget about the problem. 6, problem gets worse. There are some good actors and decent people who attempt to steer the party to act, but it never does, not at the local, state, or federal levels. Only strong executives manage to make any progress like DeSantis or Abbott, but even these are temporary victories. The Haitian invasions in Springfield and Skylaga are merely 2 examples of thousands across the country of this process of ethnic cleansing against the American people. Citizens have absolutely no recourse through their government anymore at any level whatsoever. And this comes down to the men in Ohio and Alabama who have allowed this to happen to their state and all the other states where this is happening. For anything to change, it's going to require Ohioan and Alabaman and American men to no longer allow themselves to be threatened and intimidated and bludgeoned into accepting this happening to them and their people. That's the only solution. If there are legal ways to remediate this, pursue it legally. If not, you have to consider other alternatives. The only hope they have now is a strong executive coming in and cleaning house from the top by force. Mass deportations, both of the illegal and these pseudo-legal migrants, because they've changed the law to apply the legal euphemism to all these people, must happen. A solid 50 million need to go that we know of. In addition, the charities and NGOs facilitating this must be totally dismantled. I'm talking their leaders arrested and tossed in jail or deported themselves, their assets seized, and their buildings demolished. Total annihilation. This is war. It isn't coming in a few years like we were always told. It's here right now. Haitians are murdering children, stringing up people's pets to gut like prize deer, decapitating park wildlife, stalking kids on their way to school, terrorizing people in their homes. I saw a good meme. Some said something about goose stepping down the road. We had no idea what it was actually going to mean. So sad they can just go to our park and take our geese and ducks to eat. Something needs to be done. From Miriam Jordan reporting from Springfield, Ohio, September 3, 2024. It's been more than a year since the fateful morning last August when outside Springfield in southwestern Ohio, a minivan veered into oncoming traffic and rammed into a school bus on the first day of class, killing an 11-year-old boy and injuring 23 other children. Soon it emerged that the driver of the minivan was not a longtime resident, but one of the thousands of immigrants from Haiti who had recently settled in the area. He was driving with a foreign license not valid in Ohio. The stage was set for another fraught chapter in the debate over immigration in America, this one magnified because J.D. Vance, the state's junior senator, would soon become the Republican vice presidential nominee. Haitians were new to the region. During the last census in 2020, a little more than 58,000 people lived in Springfield. So 58,000 people lived in Springfield in 2020, and there's been 50,000 Haitians brought in. Politicians involved in this process must be brought up on treason and human trafficking charges. All of them, federal, state, and local. If you're even tangentially involved, you're getting arrested and barred from public life. Best case, we deport them too. This is the merciful option. This is the calm, measured, moderate Christian option. Because the alternative is far darker. That alternative may wind up being necessary. And I pray that it's not, because it will stain the souls of the people who are forced to take action in that way. This is a fact of life. We live in a sinful world where there are sinful people doing evil things. And that evil must be combated. And sometimes in the process of combating that, if you go to war, this is the Christian tradition. Armies go out to war and they are blessed in their pursuits. And the men who kill in war must confess. Because killing another person stains your soul. And yet sometimes those are the only options remaining. State and local leaders are a part of this problem. They must be held accountable. How can you say nothing about this as the governor? It's completely insane, unless they're in on it too, or just woefully incompetent, in which case, why are they in power in the first place? So here's his thread on Alabama politics. Talladega, the county Skylaga is in, voted for Trump by over 60% in 2020. Alabama is a solid red state with 2 Republican senators and 6 out of 7 Republican House members, including Skylaga's district. The mayor, Jim Heigl, and all council members are also Republican. Here's the video, again, posted by Captive Dreamer. Small Alabama city, Skylaga, has city council meetings. It's actually Sylacauga. Sylacauga? Sylacauga. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about. Has city council meetings cut short after citizens voiced concerns about recent Haitian immigration. You guys get the point. I'm not going to play the full 6-minute video. But it's necessary to go through this process to have the citizens shut down when they go through the normal legal process of appealing to their leaders to solve the problem. If they go through this normal legal process and their leaders don't solve the problem, all right, now it's time for phase 2. Talladega County and Sylacauga Township are dominated by Republicans in all elected positions. Despite this, Haitians are being dumped into the town in secret, and the town council refuses to answer questions, shutting down the meeting and accusing the questioners of racism. The council members have demonstrated themselves to be criminals. Another resident said, "The attitude of the council throughout this process is entirely unacceptable. Do we know where the individuals we're discussing are coming from?" he asked. "What's their point of origin? Because you're treating them like lawful U.S. citizens, which they are not." Nix jumped in at that point. "Okay, so I'm going to cut it off. Again, we have no reason to launch an investigation or to treat people differently because of how they look. These individuals came here from Haiti," the man said. "Haiti is a failed state. The president was assassinated in 2021. There's no way the State Department could vet these individuals." This Nix person, prison is the merciful option. When pressed merely by a few people in the meeting, all members of the town council, supposed Republicans, refused to answer what is actually going on in the town and in the county. The mayor also brushed off migrant concerns. This has been happening in other Alabama towns. No one seems capable of answering the simple question of where these people are coming from, why they're arriving, and who's deciding whether or not they should be allowed to invade the community without approval from citizens. None of the Republican officials seem the least bit concerned with the worries of their constituents, bowling over them with how nice the migrants are, calling citizens racist for daring to ask questions, refusing to admit that they showed up without permission. This is happening all over the country. The answer here is that NGOs are resettling foreigners across the country. making deals with city governments and officials in secret. Citizens don't find out until a crime is committed or when the foreigners begin butchering geese and skinning cats in public. There are also profiteers in the local business scene making a killing from state, federal, or private grants and assistance programs. They work hand in hand with politicians and NGOs to scratch each other's backs while citizens are left scrambling. Hey, I read this one already. The situation is untenable. Local governments aren't capable of stopping this, nor do they want to. Oftentimes, they're in on the scheme themselves. Citizens have no recourse or representation on stopping the flow of endless migration in either party at any level. Huge thanks to Captive Dreamer for shedding a light on this stuff recently. The screen caps on Springfield situation are from his tweets. None of this is easily accessible for voters either. I tried finding out, for example, which party the mayor of Springfield, Ohio is affiliated with and found nothing on his social media, the city website, or in local news articles. Bizarre. No accountability by design, it seems. Charities are a big part of this, and they actually can make a profit off the migrants if they bring enough in to get qualifying grants and rewards from the government. These are ostensibly Christian charity organizations. Human services, public health, and nonprofit social service agencies are assisting Haitian immigrants who come to the region seeking jobs and affordable housing, and to join family members who are already here, said Cook, who is co-chair of the Haitian Coalition, formed in December to help coordinate the local assistance efforts. They contribute to the economy and the community and the economy, said Casey Rollins, board president and executive director, St. Vincent de Paul in Springfield. They're not just asking for things, they're asking for opportunities. Yeah, opportunities to butcher family pets, to harass women in the bathroom, to follow children around in neighborhoods and leer at them. Those are the opportunities they're looking for. Sure, are there people who are not doing that? Of course, you're going to find those examples. But if bringing them means bringing the others as well, none of them can come. You fucking evil people. The faith-based nonprofit volunteer group assists immigrants with work permits and legal work and finding shelter, food, and clothing, Rollins said. All of these people try not to Fed post. Prison is the merciful option, and I pray that the merciful option is actually an option. He says, and in case you missed it, adding in my thread for the pathological tolerance of boomerism for further reading, as this mentality is the direct genesis of the migration crisis. So the video he's starting off with here is a refugees welcome and no racism, no fascism spectacle being held in Glasgow today. We're reading Vagrant of Roads, Vagrant Wires on Twitter. He says, boomerism as a mindset is civilizational poison. It proposes selling the future to make yourself feel good or superior in the always fleeting now. Not all boomers embody this mentality, but enough do that it's swung our entire culture completely out of balance. The boomer mentality is cold and calculating. It sits on the beach collecting pensions and Social Security, telling you to stop complaining because doing so makes them feel more pride in their own wealth. They wrecked all of our social norms to feel open-minded. How does the collective physical and mental well-being of society affect you in any way, LMAO? Mind your own business. They have insurance. European tribes invaded each other in the past, so now you have to accept infinite third-world immigration. A jury of his peers decided otherwise. No one is above the law. They generally believe anything and everything on TV. They refuse to admit wrongdoing. They cannot stop the train because doing so would make them feel uncomfortable, and above all, the mentality of boomerism seeks perpetual, endless, maximal comfort. It is fanatical. A lot of this comes from boomer resentment of their own parents' simpler lives and in the desire of those parents to provide sturdy comforts for their children after living through so much destruction in the early 20th century. A kind gesture which mutated due to resentment. Every smug cosmopolitan shitlib and malicious subverter has no choice but to insist that every waking moment for the last 100,000 plus years before Marvel movies, fag parades, and social media was literal hell on earth, and that any appearance or suggestion of a happier existence was propaganda or some veneer to hide the fact that everyone really wanted to drink piss and take cocks up the ass, but the church wouldn't let them. They project the absolute insane levels of evil, corruption, distrust, and spiritual emptiness of their time, and tell you that every other time before today was the same, but worse. It's all they have because the world of their creation has little positive qualities by itself, and they don't want you imagining a better because that often requires their removal. Boomers pass this on to our younger generations as well. Millennials are little boomers, constantly undone by stress, undisciplined, perpetually chasing a comfort that they will never be able to obtain, because the era of wealth that allowed boomers to do it is gone for good. They crave nostalgia and are aggressively materialistic because they've seen the world change and don't like where it's headed, but it's a social taboo to express the real reasons why. So they buy stuff and spend for temporary alleviation of the weight of that burden. Gen X is similarly stunted, but by resentment. Obsessively clawing for more to be better than the boomer parents they resent, broken by rampant boomer divorce and that generation's destruction of social structures like the family. Again, don't sow in pursuit of good feelings. I don't know exactly what that was supposed to mean. Meanwhile, Gen X ended up just like their parents, but more embittered and nihilistic due to the capriciousness with which boomers discarded the nuclear family. This legacy lives on with spiteful, self-sabotaging hedonism and ironic detachment, but this is a separate thread. Every time you see a Kamala rally or some anti-hate, self-suicidal nonsense like the above, it's always led by boomers or boomer funding and others who have converted to their mindset. Anything and everything goes because feelings, which must be chased, are arbitrary. Demographic replacement? Justified because tolerance feels good. Mutilation of children? Justified because saying no to freaks is being mean. Endless war? Justified because Russia makes you feel icky. Poisoned food? Justified because it's cheap and cheap feels good. This mentality seeks nothing for the future and everything for the promise of an endless now. Transhumanism, modernist art, sexual revolution, mass migration, the numbers only go up economy, never letting go of political power, etc. But it all has a cost. This is the spirit of the boomer truth regime in a tweet. That cost is stolen from others. It's stolen from the younger generation's health, community, nature, faith, etc. The endless vortex of one generation's habit to chase their own comfort and have opinions that make them feel superior has drained the life force of the country. There's plenty of space for everyone if we just put a low-income housing development right here. It's important to note that this is a battle for the soul of mankind. Boomerism is a newer phenomenon, but not unheard of. What makes it unique is that for the first time in history, a majority of people in society adopted this so what attitude towards its future. It's also important to note that there are many good boomers who despise their own generation and see these problems. Many have fought valiantly to stop it, but alas, they are in the minority. The only fault of this approximately 40% of that generation is a much lesser error in judgment. This subgroup of boomers wished to preserve what they had for the future, to pass on their comforts to their children, to give them the life that they had been given. They did this primarily by voting, precisely because they had so much to lose. They couldn't risk all of that by doing anything else. They had too much to lose. So a solid 60% of boomers wanted to sap the wealth for their own needs, while the other 40% saw this was bad and wished to preserve what they could for the future generations to hopefully reverse. Noble, to be sure, but naive. Ultimately, this failure to put up a hard barrier and fight is what will be all of collective boomerdom's singular legacy. I won't fault the 40% of doing what they could to keep the lights on. I thank them for it. But the 60% who happily burned our civilization down just to pursue their own high, there's no greater crime or dishonor than to give up on the future, to sell out your children to the state, to check out and perpetuate the destruction of society because it makes you feel good. Truly vile behavior. Pride run amok. But once all the boomers are all gone, what then? Who inherits control? When they're gone, we lose the 60% of morons, yes, but we also lose that noble 40% of optimists. This latter group brought us Trump, and he is the perfect encapsulation of that optimistic hope. A blow, to be sure. I can't help but feel a real war is coming. Boomers are a strange hiccup, a long pause until things go back to their usual ways. The endless wealth and comfort they enjoyed simply cannot last, and the system cannot right itself. Their nature as a mixed bag leaves questions. History is often driven generationally. What makes boomers unique is a combination of factors. Size, the baby boom, timing, post-wars, technology and culture, screens, wealth and exposure, globalism, lack of hard conflict, Cold War mentality, and longevity, life expectancy extend. When they're done, both the good and the bad, when they're gone, both the good and the bad, we will be left picking up the pieces of that mixed bag. We must remember both. The good in their hopeful and noble optimism, and the bad in their dangerous and chaotic narcissism. He says, hope you're all proud of me for not putting quick at the start of this one for once. And then he says, great insight here. This is an example of a boomerism which manifests in the two ways of that generation. Either the self-destructive pathological tolerance virtue signaling or genuine kindness and patient generosity of naive and nice people. And Nate Hotchman says, one of the equally admirable and frustrating things about Americans is how open-minded they are. Even when their town is literally getting invaded by Haitians, their first instinct is to try to patiently explain to the invaders why they need to behave themselves. And I'll read this here. So this is in a post on a Haitian community in Springfield, Ohio. An anonymous participant says, Dear non-citizens of Springfield, I writing to help communicate the gap between U.S. citizens and non-citizens. I have read about some of your countries, and it was scary. I understand why you left. But there is a huge cultural difference. So if you want to be a part of this great country, then you need to understand and learn our culture. So here are some things you could do to make this better. Don't follow the women and children. It is highly offensive. Don't stare at us. Learn to drive respectfully and responsibly. Responsibility. Crashes in this town are way up due to non-citizens, causing responsible citizens' insurance rates to go up. Walk on the sidewalks, not the streets, especially at night. Be polite. Use words like excuse me and thank you. Don't go around yelling in the store. It is assumed an emergency situation. Don't open food in the store and start eating it. You're supposed to pay for it first and eat it at home. Don't play with the groceries in the store, especially the children. Don't play with the groceries in the store, and especially don't play with the children. This is considered rude and unsanitary. Don't push people with your shopping carts. Again, this is very rude. When you go to a garage sale, you must pay for those items. They're not free. Just don't go walking off with items. That is stealing. Smile once and while be grateful. We don't owe you anything. This is only a parcel list. Go to church. Start living a better way. This is such a fan. I don't know if this is like parody. It's so good if it is. And yet you have to appreciate the simple, naive spirit that thinks this is like, even conceives that this is possible. I know you guys had that bad situation and it was real scary, and we're willing to welcome you into our community, but here's the rules you have to follow. These people can't follow rules like that. These are primal people. They have the primal mindset. They're not physically capable of functioning in a high-trust society. Things like don't open food at the store and start eating it. Don't play with the groceries. Don't push people with your shopping carts. Don't just walk away with stuff from a garage sale. Some people just can't conceive of that. They can't live in a world like that. And if we want a world like that, we can't have these people here. Bringing them here to experience this world does not make them like us. It makes us like them. So you're not saving the third world, you're destroying the first world. And yet I have to have some measure of sympathy and respect for the absolute idealism of this person. It's wonderful. It's great that you have this spirit. Would that we all could live in a world like the one you imagine yourself living in. But the only way to retain these features of a high trust, like, do you think a Haitian understands that if you don't drive responsibly, then responsible citizens' insurance rates are going to go up? If they could even understand that, would they care? Of course not. You can't have a civilization with people who can't even comprehend a civilization. The civilizational mindset is something some people have and some people don't. And if you force them all to live together in one place, you will not have civilization. These people need to be protected from themselves. By these people, I mean the person posting this. It's great that they have such a naive, idealistic, optimistic spirit that we could just bring these people in. And, if I post on Facebook, then the guy who's following around my daughter in the store is going to sit down and he's going to read this Facebook post and go, oh man, I never thought of it that way. Oh, great. Thank you for enlightening me. It's really revealing that someone like this lives in this world and takes this world for granted. And it's a beautiful world. It's such a luxury that someone like this can take that world for granted. This is the holdover of the boomer truth regime. But unfortunately, a world like this doesn't just emerge from the ground. It has to be established by force and maintained by force. Men are going to have to get their hands dirty. They're going to do things that damage their own souls. And there's no way around it. Because the people who are naive enough to be succored by those who are malevolent enough to succor them have burned the crops. It's up to us to replant them, to recultivate them, to defend them, to rebuild the society. And this is a time of great opportunity. Do you know how valuable a civilization is? If you can build one, you've just built like the most valuable product of all time. There's great opportunity in front of us, but we have to take seriously the problems that we're confronted with. Related to that, we don't just have a Haitian problem, we have a Venezuelan problem too. James O'Keefe leaked U.S. Army CUI documents reveal expanding threat of Venezuelan criminal organization Tren de Aragua across NYC and Denver. O'Keefe Media has obtained controlled unclassified information, CUI, from the U.S. Army of the North Division, highlighting the growing presence of one of Venezuela's largest criminal organizations in the U.S. The document states that Tren de Aragua has, quote, has established a presence in Brooklyn, Bronx, and Williamsburg, New York, with, quote, approximately 400 TDA members living in these cities. The CUI also warns that TDA members in Denver, quote, have been given a green light to fire on or attack law enforcement, with Homeland Security investigations in New York receiving a similar report. The document details how the criminal organization is using advanced technology and surveillance, heightening the danger to U.S. military personnel and law enforcement. We are at war. That's what this means. We are at war. This is what war looks like right now. War isn't coming. War is here.
Leaked U.S. Army CUI documents reveal warning of criminal Venezuelan organization Tren de Aragua expanding threat across New York City. The document states that Tren de Aragua has established a presence in Brooklyn, Bronx, and Williamsburg, New York. Approximately 400 TDA members live in those cities. Tren de Aragua, known as TDA, criminal organization members in Denver have been given a green light to fire on or attack law enforcement in Denver, Colorado. HSI New York reportedly received a similar report. O'Keefe Media has obtained controlled unclassified information known as CUI, distributed by the U.S. Army of the North Division, about Tren de Aragua, one of the largest criminal organizations in Venezuela, with an estimated 5,000 members. Now, this group has expanded across states of New York and Colorado, involved in human trafficking, drug, and weapons smuggling. The distribution of the CUI document comes after videos showing National Guardsmen in subway stations and establishing a presence throughout New York City.
National Guard is now all over Brooklyn, man.
Why is the Army at this hotel?
We're here at the request of the state.
It has been confirmed through the documents provided to us that Tren de Aragua, the criminal organization, has active members in Denver and have been given a green light to fire on or attack law enforcement in Denver, Colorado. HSI New York has received similar reports. The Denver news comes on the heels of videos of Venezuelan gang members rushing into apartment complexes in Aurora, Colorado in August of this year. The document states that the Tren de Aragua members are 57 miles from West Point. West Point is the nation's first established military academy located in West Point, New York. CUI stands for Controlled Unclassified Information, which is information that the government or other entities possess or create that is defined as sensitive. CUI is not classified, but it does require safeguarding and dissemination controls. The document states, quote, this information is an anti-terrorism, force protection, and law enforcement action officer's tool and should be used for situational awareness only. This information may not be released to the media. The TDA's expansion amidst the Venezuelan refugee crisis has led to violent incidents, including recent attacks on military installations. For the sake of protection of military installations and personnel, the document states, quote, coordinated efforts between local, state, federal law enforcement, and the military are crucial. We've reached out to the Army for comment. We await their response. We will put their comment in the thread below. This is a developing story. Stay tuned. Well, here we go. The market has plunged again. The writing is on the wall. It's time to take action. The elites and big banks are pulling the strings, creating financial chaos to strip you of your wealth. Don't let them win. Call my friends at Bishop Gold Group right now. They'll help you shield your assets with gold and silver, the ultimate fortress against this financial tyranny. Act now before it's too late. Protect your future, protect your freedom, protect your retirement. I'll put the link and phone number in my bio so you can get a hold of them anytime.
Okay. So, what else is happening? I think I've ranted on that for long enough. I want to give you guys a little white pill here. The rhetoric coming out of the Trump orbit on this issue, and all these issues are all connected to each other. This next thing here, though, is quite an escalation in rhetoric that we've seen coming for a while now. Of course, I've got to try to scroll down here and find this. Here we go. Trump tweeted this on Saturday. Cease and desist. I, together with many attorneys and legal scholars, am watching the sanctity of the 2024 presidential election very closely because I know better than most the rampant cheating and skullduggery is such a good word, that has taken place by the Democrats in the 2020 presidential election. It was a disgrace to our nation. You know, it's funny. I was thinking about this the other day when I posted something. We have our euphemisms like election fortification, and I think we're almost at the point now where we don't even have to use the euphemisms. It's been so normalized. It's basically just recognized and generally accepted. There's of course the stupid shit libs that blah, 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 whatever, but they're such a minority. They're no longer mainstream. It's just generally accepted now. Yeah, there was skullduggery that happened. Therefore, the 2024 election, where votes have just started being cast, will be under the closest professional scrutiny. And when I win, those people that cheated will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences so that this depravity of justice does not happen again. We cannot let our country further devolve into a third world nation, and we won't. Please beware that this legal exposure extends to lawyers, political operatives, donors, illegal voters, and corrupt election officials. Casting a pretty wide net here. Those involved in unscrupulous behavior will be sought out, caught, and prosecuted at levels unfortunately never seen before in our country. Now, is this just rhetoric? Maybe. But this is some serious rhetoric. And we're getting a pretty consistent drumbeat on this. I don't remember who it was, if it was either Scott Adams or Charles Haywood or someone. I can't remember who, but they said this creates a pretty interesting dilemma for those who are engaged in the process of fortifying elections now. If you're going to undertake these sorts of things and you run the risk of losing out, well, it's not just going to be like, oh yeah, well, we just had these little organizations and we had our charities and we moved some funds around and we're out here, just encouraging people to register to vote. And no, now you know, if the fortification effort fails, you've got a target on your back. It already seems very clear that the Kamala campaign, the DNC operatives, their whole network is starting to scramble. This debate coming tomorrow is going to be very interesting because Kamala is just hopefully in over her head. The people around her are desperately trying to protect her from this, but they know that they have to have this debate, and it's going to be just a bloodbath. And we talked last week about how these different Democrat governors may not be inclined to participate as much in fortification efforts because they have designs on 2028. And now, an announcement like this, how many people are going to take this seriously? It may not take that many people, but they start questioning, how devoted am I to this cause? Do I want to run this risk? The circular firing squad is commencing. The optimistic take here is that all he needs is to put this out, his formal cease and desist letter to the nation, and it will be sufficient to get enough people that are just like, I don't want to cross all those lines. The risk is too great. Even the public poll numbers are just getting worse and worse. For whatever the polls are worth, even the normies who are looking at them, like the drumbeat, the narrative is becoming stronger and stronger that this election isn't even a competition. The only way this election is possibly competitive is through skullduggery. But it gets better. Another powerful mutual, emergent perspective, @_emergent_. Is a good guy. He says, this time there will be a nation full of witnesses keeping a close eye on the process. You should offer whistleblowers full amnesty for coming forward if they do so before or during the vote counts. They're going to try it. He has the Venezuelan election graph and the Georgia election graph. And he got a reply. Elon. So our boy got himself sandwiched between Trump and Elon. And Elon says full amnesty for whistleblowers is critical. Elon Musk is talking about full amnesty for election fortification whistleblowers. And you're blackpilling? This drumbeat is becoming a roar. And I'm sticking with my prediction that this is going to be decided in the courts. If I had to bet on the likelihood of outcomes here, I would say, I think 60% it's decided in the courts. 30% it's just Trump just wins outright and it never even gets there. And 10% there's really blatant and obvious skullduggery as the regime just goes all in with their final gambit and things get gnarly. But in any case, it seems very clear to me that all the concern about, the GOP is just sleepwalking through this and they don't even want to win and nobody cares. They're just going to steal it in front of everyone and nobody's going to do anything about it. They're just going to sit back and take it. Seems very clear to me that's not the case. And if you're talking that way, if you're championing that spirit publicly, I'm more and more inclined to put you on the deportation list. Because the only way that spirit maintains life is through people like you. Black pillar out there who honestly probably isn't listening to the Astrolabe, because the Astrolabe is only for the best. But if you're listening, tread carefully. Another interesting little update on the Tenet Media thing, which could tie into the conversation we're having. Matt Kim, I don't think I know who this guy is. I just saw this tweet, which was interesting. He says, finally read the full indictment involving Tenet Media. Those of you who are regular listeners to the Astrolabe have heard most of it because I read most of it last week. He says the most important point that no one seems to talk about. The DOJ got all of their evidence from emails, phone records, IP addresses, Discord messages, and Google searches without having the physical devices. Meaning they have all the communications from Lauren Chen, all employees, friends, and known associates, as well as anyone that has ever communicated with Tim Pool, Dave Rubin, and Benny Johnson and or associates of. You can thank Congress for extending FISA 702. The story isn't Russia, Russia, Russia. It's that they just collected all of your data and communications. Welcome to the surveillance state. Pay attention. Thomas says, I was hoping we'd get a comment from Lauren Chen on X, but she hasn't. I wouldn't be surprised if she's got some kind of gag order. It seems pretty clear, taking all the evidence here, that she's got some sort of a deal. Because they're indicting these two Russians, but there's been no announcement of Lauren or her husband or anyone affiliated with them otherwise being indicted, even though they would ostensibly be guilty of the exact same thing that the Russians are being indicted for. The failure to register as a foreign agent. So I'm guessing that she's just rolled over and turned over everything, which honestly, I mean, you would do the exact same thing if you were in that situation. You'd have no alternative. The other option is you rot in jail and accomplish nothing, and they take it anyways. So what this means, I think that I said it right away when it dropped, that this is part of a gambit at angling at Elon and at Twitter broadly, and the Trump campaign. This is, I think, a pretext for the October surprise, and who knows what the October surprise is going to be, or if there's going to be more than one October surprise. But things are definitely going to get spicier between now and November. And it's a reminder, this is probably for some of you, this may not be all that relevant given who you may be talking to or connecting with. But if you do have connections to prominent people, if you start playing the degrees of separation between you and other prominent people, just realize, tread carefully. Be careful who you're talking to and who you're trusting. Which communities you're participating in. Because they're looking around. I heard someone told me this. I haven't have this confirmed, but someone told me that with the FISA laws, they can go 6 degrees from a given person. So it's like they have to get the FISA warrant for one person, but once they do, they can go 6 degrees from that person, which covers like the entire fucking planet, basically. And I think that's the bigger story here. Is not just going after Lauren Chen or Tim Pool or Dave Rubin, not just making a damaging PR story, but this is like a first volley that indicates there's a whole lot more happening behind the scene. All is going to be revealed. Jacob says, Lauren's not being held without bond or anything, right? Why hasn't she spoken up? I think Fed set her up, but her silence is sort of sus. I agree that Fed set her up. I think that I would imagine, so with the FISA warrants, like they're all completely sealed. You can be the subject of an investigation or even prosecuted or indicted, and it's not necessarily going to be publicized. So who knows? She could be in a hole somewhere. Nobody would know otherwise. Yeah, random username says, this means they're spying on the Trump campaign again. Exactly. That's what this is. And the Trump campaign has extended to a lot more than just the people immediately involved with the campaign. It extends out to people like Elon and Tucker and their network of associates. Another interesting little connection here between Bukele and the tech titans, the PayPal mafia. He was visited by Chris Pavlovsky, the head of Rumble. Last night, I had the honor of meeting the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, to talk Rumble and Rumble Cloud. Such a beautiful country. I plan on coming back. Chris Pavlovsky has been pretty outspoken about the Telegram thing, and I think that he was in Europe and he pieced out of Europe when Durov was arrested, because he's very much affiliated in the same category of people. Elon, Chris Pavlovsky, Pavel Durov. All of these guys are living a pretty risky life right now. I've got respect for him. Bukele said, we are the new safe haven for ideas, freedom of speech, and belief. As the world spirals into chaos and government crackdowns intensify, we will stand as the new beacon of hope for the future. And then, rounding it out here, Elton John on his reaction to Donald Trump calling Kim Jong-un Little Rocket Man. This is interesting. Add this to the list of celebrities like Mark Zuckerberg, who haven't endorsed Trump, but they're speaking much more favorably in public in ways that would have gotten them massively canceled just recently.
I know that you're not a supporter of Donald Trump's. He loves your music. How did it feel when he took the lyrics to Rocket Man and he used it as a nickname for Kim Jong-un, and then he gave Kim Jong-un
I laughed. I thought it was brilliant. I just thought, good on you, Donald. I'm the Rocket Man, yeah. Donald's always been a fan of mine, and he's been to my concerts many, many times. So, I mean, I've always been friendly towards him, and I thank him for his support. Yeah, when he did that, I just thought it was hilarious. It made me laugh.
He gave Kim one of your CDs and signed it. That was in one of the books about him, because Kim, I guess, didn't know the song. So,
what's that?
He gave Kim Jong-un the signed CD.
Yes.
Which
yeah.
He'd never heard of it.
I know, because he hasn't heard of me, Kim Jong-un. I'd be very surprised if he had. I've never toured North Korea, and I have no intention of doing so. But it was. I thought it was a light moment, and it was fun.
And relatedly, I saw a number of people saying that The Rock endorsed Trump, which is a little bit of fake news, but It's not as fake as you might think. Because again, looking at this through the lens of saying anything remotely sympathetic or favorable or even hinting at sympathy toward Trump would have made you persona non grata. So this is effectively an endorsement. This is the quote that everyone is talking about.
Trump used to come watch me wrestle all the time back Madison Square Garden down. It was great. First time I saw him, I said, let me see the eyebrow. Got it, there it is. That's cool. So he was a fan. He watched you as a fan. Oh, yeah, that's cool. He used to come to Madison Square Garden all the time. Whether you love Donald, you don't love Donald, it doesn't matter. I tried to assassinate him. There's no room for
like the captions. I tried to assassinate him. We got an admission.
And despite it being who we were in that moment, I still believe in my core that is not who we are as a country. So him standing up in that moment, you wanted to see that. Trump used to come.
That's like Zuckerberg. That is as close as you're probably going to get right now to an endorsement. That's effectively an endorsement. Okay. Oops, I got to keep that tab open so I could post the master thread when we're finished here. Go to my Twitter at RealKingPilled, and I will post all of these links, everything that I've read through here today. I'll post it all in the master thread so you can go read through them, watch them, share them, do what you will with them. The very last thing today, I will leave you on a white pill. Yesterday was the nativity of the Theotokos, September 8th. And this is the tweet that we got from our dear leader. Donald Trump tweeted, "Happy birthday, Mary." This is very interesting considering how significant his base of evangelicals is, and that evangelicals are not going to be all that happy about something like this. Mr. Anxiety Flopper says, "No way." That was my reaction too. Incredible. You notice he if you saw this happening, he tweeted it, he posted it on Truth. He truthed it, and then I think he posted it somewhere else, and then later in the evening he posted it on Twitter. You can kind of see the workflow there. But we have the favorite for president publicly saying happy birthday to the mother of our Lord. And you're blackpilling? Couldn't be me. All right, there's the 2-hour mark. I appreciate you guys. I think this is an all-time record for most viewers, most live viewers on the ASTROLABE. We've still got 170 here and 85 likes, so do me a favor, hit the like button on your way out and subscribe to the channel. Go watch the conversation that I had with Jason, 2-Bit Podcast, and Meta Prime on Saturday. It's on my YouTube channel. It's on Jason's YouTube channel. It's on Meta's YouTube channel. It's on my Twitter account. It's on Jason's Twitter account. Might be on Meta's, I'm not sure. It's on Jason's Rumble. There's plenty of places to get it. Go watch it. You gotta get that conversation, and you gotta get it watched before Wednesday when Jason drops his conversation with Stormy Waters. It is a absolute must watch. It is going to dramatically transform your perception of what is happening right now, what must be done, what is coming, and how we need to prepare for it. And last of all, join the King Pill Discord. You need a network. You need to be building out your network. You need to be a part of a community of good people who you can trust, who believe as you do, who share your values, who are working on projects that extend beyond this election cycle. Swapping wisdom. We've got wisdom on health and fitness, jobs, resumes, nerd shit, coding and such. Things that go boom. Conspiracies, theology. We've got a little something for everyone in there. We do voice chats regularly. We do the schizo stream on Friday night. So go join the King Pill Discord, kingpill.com. That's the best way you could support this show, ensure that I keep coming out here and doing this, and you can stay looped in on the different things that we're working on. We have a project that we're going to be releasing, hopefully within the next couple of months, and the first place, I'll give you a leak here, the first place it's going to leak is the King Pill Discord. So if you want to be up to date on what's happening and you want to get the first look at new things, that's the place to be. All right, guys. You know how it ends. I got to leave you guys with Hulk. So have your Hulk.
They're my hero. And they tried to kill the next president of the United States.